Alright, so the basics of making music. Once you are familiar with Ableton's interface. If you are not, I have a video on that, the day one guide that I made. But if you are, first thing you need to know, there are two types of tracks in Ableton. There are MIDI tracks and there are audio tracks. This here is a MIDI track, and we know because it says MIDI, and this is an audio track, and it says audio. Today I'm going to be talking about MIDI tracks. So actually using instruments, whether you have a MIDI keyboard that you're going to use, or you can actually use your laptop keys to play whatever instrument you want. So we're going to be talking about MIDI here. Now, first thing, understanding the difference between the MIDI and the audio track. An audio track is for recording your voice or recording anything with a microphone, or for dragging things like this. That's already audio, and if I drag that onto this audio track anywhere, I can do that because it is audio, right? It's not like an instrument that's being played. It's something that has already been recorded. Okay, but we're going to be using MIDI today, which again is for actual instruments that you're going to play. So if you're in this view, if it looks like this on your screen, make sure you press tab, which is going to bring us into arrangement view, because that's what we're going to be learning in today. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this audio track because we don't need it, and we just got this one MIDI track. Now, if you want to get a sound in Ableton, you go to the categories area here and click on sounds, at which point you can either search for an instrument that you want up here and it will come up. Like if I search guitar, here they are. So let's grab one of those. The way that you can demo out what sound you want to use is just by clicking on it once. Okay, so I'm gonna drag that onto this MIDI track, and now I have it. Okay, got it. And there it is. We found out because we see it down here. There are some controls that you can use for different instruments. This one happens to have these 8 controls. And what we're going to do is, first thing, we are going to create a MIDI region, which means we are going to create a little area to play music on. And we can always change it later, but I'm going to do this amount of space. You see I selected 1, 2, 3, 4 bars of space. Once you select it like this by clicking and dragging, then you're going to press Command Shift M. Hold those down all together, and here is what we call our piano roll. This is where you're going to plug in notes. Now, sometimes you might have, it might look a little crazy in here, and like, for example, it might look like this, in which case you don't have a lot of space to work with. Okay? What we want to do is use our magnifying glass. Okay? So if you scroll up right above, you'll find a magnifying glass. If you click and scroll up or down, it will change how much you're seeing. This looks like a good amount to see. Same goes for over here on the left. There's a magnifying glass that if you click and you scroll left or right, it will show you all the different piano notes that you can use. Okay, that's too many. I don't need all those. It gets a little confusing, like if you're trying to make music like this. It gets like crazy. It's too much space. We don't need all that. So to get rid of these notes real quick, I'm just going to select all of them and delete. So what I want to do is I want to click in here and scroll until I see a healthy looking amount of notes. You know, that looks like an amount of notes that I could see actually using. So what I'm going to do is, first thing, I am going to make sure that this headphone right here is turned on. Why? Because if it's not, then when I create notes like this, I'm not going to hear anything. I want to hear these as I move them around. So if I click on the headphone, then I can hear notes as I move them around. And the way that you create a note in here is by double-clicking on any space. Now, that is an E, an E4 to be exact. It's the 4th octave on the piano, and it's the note E. And we see the piano. If you turn your head like to the left, you'll see, oh, it's a piano here, if you didn't already get that from the black and white keys. So when I double click, I've got a note. Now, if I want that note to be longer or shorter, I just go to the edge of the note, and there's a bracket that I can use. So I'm going to open that up or close it and make it shorter, right? Because if it's short, then it might be like this. And if it's long, then it'll be like this. And it'll hold. So, what I want to show you is how to create a little loop in your piano roll. First thing, make sure that your metronome up top is on. If you don't have drums in your project yet, and you're just making some music, some instruments, you gotta have this metronome on. The only other option is if you really understand rhythm, really understand the different deviations of notes, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, the triplets of all those notes, about groove and all these different things. If you're not up to speed with all that stuff, and even if you are a lot of times, you're going to want to make sure this metronome is on. So I'm going to turn it on, which means that when I press play, I'll actually hear the tempo. If you don't do this, it might get a little weird when you go to add drums, because you'll realize, oh shit, this is not what I was trying to fucking do. So, first thing, I'm just going to make sure that I am holding Option. Again, I'm going to double click to create a note. Okay? I'm going to want to make sure that I hold Option to move notes around like this. The only reason I'm able to do what you're seeing me do right now is because I'm holding Option. If I were not holding Option and I tried to move this, it's going to move it, and it's going to get rid of the old one. So to undo that, I'm going to press Command Z. Whenever you want to undo, it's Command Z. So I got this note here, and I'm just going to create a little melody here. So now these are going to hold into each other. Do you see how? And so is this one. These are going to hold into each other because they're touching over top of each other. So it just means that they're going to hang on for a while, and they're going to bleed into the next one. Sometimes you might want that, sometimes you might not. In this case, I don't want to. So I'm going to go like that with the bracket and make sure everything is like that. You see how now they're not touching? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing here where I shorten anything that is touching over each other because I don't want to hear it hang while this one plays. So I'm going to move this over like that. Okay, same here. Same here. And I want to hear what I've created on a loop. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go up to my timeline here, and I'm going to click on this MIDI space I've created, and I'm going to press Cmd L. Now if I play it, it'll start back over when it's done. I don't need the metronome on anymore because I've created something and I know that we're safe, that it's on beat. So I'm going to turn it off and play it. Right? It's on loop, so it does that. Now, let's say that something I've created, I want it to be an octave lower. I want to see what it sounds like if it were lower. Well, what I can do is I can click in my piano roll anywhere, doesn't matter, and select everything, which is Cmd A. At which point I'm going to move it an octave up or down. The way we do that is by pressing Shift down. Shift down will bring it an octave lower. Shift up will bring it an octave higher. So, and I say, what about an octave lower? Shift down. Shift up, shift down. Okay. Now, the other thing is I have velocities down here. If you see all these little things, those are my velocities. Now, if I move them around, it'll change how loud the note is being played, like this. And now this one is going to be the lowest volume one of all of them. You see that? That one's lower than all the rest. To undo, Command Z, and I'm back. If you scroll a little bit above that little area, you've got the arrows, where you can move this up so you can be more precise with it. Now I can't see my music anymore, so I just go in here and I scroll down. Now I can see it again. Okay? But I don't actually need that right now, so I'm gonna bring this back. Okay? Just as a little bonus, if you're really new to making music and you don't even know how to make chords or anything like that, you can always go either 3 notes up and then 4 notes up, or 4 notes up and then 3 notes up. And that will make a basic chord, a basic triad. So what I mean is, I've got this here. I'm going to hold Option. I'm going to go up by 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now from there, I'm going to go up by 4. 1. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll make a little chord. Right? The other option is to go up by 4 and then up by 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And now here's a major chord. Okay? Just a little bonus. All right. So this is how you create in the piano roll if you're going to draw. Okay? If you want, you can also press the letter B, and that'll turn your cursor into a pencil, and then you can draw like this. Gets a little crazy though. So if you want to get out of that mode, because you're going like this, then first I'm going to undo, because I don't want any of that stuff. But if I want to get out of this mode, I just have to press the letter B again, and watch what happens to the cursor. We're back. So I'm going to delete all of those. Okay, now you've also got these MIDI controls right here. Some of these are pretty fun. If I press divided by 2, it's going to speed it up. If I press times 2, it's going to slow it down. Now, since I pressed it once just now, we're just going to get back to normal, because I had already done it faster. So to do it slower, it's just going to bring us back to normal. But if I do it again times 2, it's going to be really slow. Right? So I'm going to press divided by 2 so I can get back to normal. Hey! Hey! It's a strange melody. Okay. Now, you can also have fun with some of these, like reverse. If I click on reverse, it's going to just reverse all the notes in there. So now it sounds like this. Totally different. If I press reverse again, it'll bring us back to normal. Invert is very strange, and it turns the screen into like the mirror image of itself. Like, check this out. Invert. Now it's going to be a totally different melody again. Sometimes when you do that, you'll hear a cool little moment. It might not all be right, but there might be a little moment that's cool. So you want to like grab that, right? Like, let's say I think this moment is really cool. Then what I could do is like grab that moment only, and I could press copy, Command C, and then I could undo, Command Z, until we're back to what it used to be. And now I could click over here and press. Well, first I'll delete the amount of notes that I just thought was cool from the other version. And now I can go over here, and remember, I pressed copy before. The computer remembers that. So if I press Command V for paste, Command V, the cool thing from the inverted version, I've got that plus the rest of what I originally had, right? And then the last thing I want to show you in here is, let's say that I wanted this to happen over and over. Just over and over. Well, I don't need to go like, well, certainly I don't need to go like this. Double click and figure out what I did in this one so that I could, okay, so I had that there, so that must mean like that, and then I can like this. Like, you don't need to do that. You also don't need to grab them all, press copy, Command C, go over to where it needs to restart, press Command V. Although that's close, a little quicker than what I was just showing you, what you really want to do is grab all of it and start the grab that you do right at the area where you want it to repeat, right at the bar 2 where you want it to repeat. So I'm going to click. I'm clicked right here, and then I'm going to grab everything. I'll know that I've selected the right amount of space because this blue bar will come up. Okay. Now, if I just press Command D for duplicate, and this works for everything in Ableton. If I press Command D, boom, got it. So look how quickly, if I decided, oh, I want this to repeat 3 times, look how quickly that is. I go like this, Command D, D, D. Right? So, very helpful little tool there. Let's see what else. Well, if you ever want to change how many of these lines you're seeing, because it's too many, you don't need all of those, you can right click in here and choose a smaller number. So right now you see it says 1/16. If I choose a smaller number, look what happens to my grid. Little less. I can choose another smaller number, 1/4, and even a little less. However, now if I zoom in, you'll notice that I wouldn't have been able to plug this particular note in because it doesn't fall on one of these lines. I never would have been able to do that unless, right click, I was in this one, 1/8. Then I could, right? So depends on what you want. Now, if you ever want to use a key command for this, you can press Command 2 to make the grid wider, or Command 1 to make it thinner, and that it goes for, you can just keep going. Okay? Depends on what rhythm of something you want to play. I would say, if you're not sure, just right click and do 1/8. 1/8 is not a bad decision usually. Okay? Alright, so let's move into what you do when you want to actually record instead of drawing the notes. if you actually want to record? Well, I'm going to delete this by clicking and deleting. If you actually want to record in Ableton, first you're going to want to make sure that you have an instrument on your track. If you don't, it won't say an instrument name here. It'll just say MIDI. So you might be trying to play and nothing's happening. It's probably because you don't even have an instrument on there. Okay, and the way to get an instrument, always, you can go to Sounds and drag an instrument onto the track. So if I want to record, what I'm going to need to do is make sure that the track that I want to record is record enabled. I have to click on this record arm right here. If it's not, Ableton is not going to know that that's the track I want to record. So I have to click on that record arm. Once I do, I could go to the top of the project and click on the record button, and that'll actually start recording, and you'll know because the screen will turn red on that track. Okay? So, you're gonna definitely want to have your metronome on when you're recording. Now, unless you have drums. If there's drums in the track already, don't worry about it. But since there's not, I'm going to turn the metronome on. Okay, if I ever want to speed up the tempo or slow it down, I can just click on the number here and move it up for faster or down for slower. Okay, so what I recommend, if you didn't watch the last video, what I recommend is to right-click on your record button and choose Edit Key Map. When you do, you can go over, make sure that you click on your record button, press the number 3, and then you can go over here to the right and turn off the key map mode. We don't need to map the key anymore. Essentially what we're trying to do here is make it so that when I want to record, I don't need to go up to the top of the screen and press record. All I need to do is press the number 3. Okay? I find it really, really helpful to have your thumb, if you're right-handed, to have your left thumb on the spacebar. Left middle finger on the number 3. And then you can use this hand to play on your MIDI keyboard. And essentially what you're doing is you're pressing 3 for record. Oh, I didn't like what I did. Stop with the thumb. 3, I'm going to try again. Stop. And I could just be going like this. I don't even need to look at the screen, because look at this workflow, guys. It's like this. Record. Record. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, that wasn't good. Stop. Record. Da, 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 da. So as long as you've got that thumb and the middle finger, spacebar, and 3, it's game time. Of course, you're going to need to make sure that your record button is mapped to the number 3, which again we get to by right-clicking on the record button, choosing Edit Key Map, and pressing the number 3. Now it knows that its assignment is the number 3, at which point you always go back over here to the key button and turn it off so that we're back to normal. Now, if I want to record using my laptop keys, I'm going to need to make sure that this piano up top, right near the key button we were just working with, that this piano up top is turned on. If it's not turned on, I could play my laptop keyboard, my laptop keys, and it won't do anything. We need this on if we want to hear where you can play on your actual laptop keys. Or you can always just use your MIDI keyboard. Now, if you are going to use the laptop keys, and you want the octave to be lower or higher, because look at your laptop real quick. There's not a whole lot of notes you can play, especially considering the middle row of keys is really the main ones that you can play. You can play a couple of the ones above that, but the middle row is all we really got. So if you want it to be a lower octave, you need to press the letter Z on your keyboard. That will make your laptop keys lower. I'm going to press the letter Z again. Now, if you want to go back higher, you could press X. 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 All right? Okay. For this example, I'm going to use this MIDI keyboard that you probably can't see right here. Okay, so now I'm going to press the number 3, and it's going to start recording. Now, because of how my computer's set up, when I press it, it's just going to start. You see how we're just already recording? I find that most people would prefer if it counted them in. Kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, now start. I don't like that, but I think most people do. The way that you're going to be able to do that is go up to your metronome. Next to it, there's a little arrow. Click on that arrow. It says count in. Mine says none because I don't want any count in 1, 2, 3, 4. But I think most people like this one right here, 1 bar. Which means if I press the number 3 to record, it's going to count me in and then I start. Like this. 3. Now it's recording. Right? Okay. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay. Stop. You see how on my screen, because I was in loop mode, it was trying to just loop. So what it did was it got rid of the stuff I played right here because it looped over before I pressed stop. What I can do is just go to this right here, hover right there, you see that? That bracket, and I'll extend out to the left and we got everything I did. Okay? Now, what you're going to want to do oftentimes is you're going to want to access your piano roll because you want to maybe mess around with what you did a little bit. And right now, we can't see my piano roll. Okay? So, if you want to see the piano roll, I find the best way to go and see it is right down here. You guys see this down here? Over here is your instrument. So if you click on that, you'll see your instrument where you can add effects like this. Let's try. Oh, that's... These little effects are whatever you want to do. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Now, if you actually want to go back to the piano roll, because let's say I don't think that my tempo was perfect in here. I don't think I did a very good job. Well, then next to that little instrument view area, you've got this, which is your piano roll. So click on that. We're back. Okay? Now, I can't see this shit. A lot of people try to work like here, like this. And it's no good, guys. You don't need all that. You don't need to be seeing that shit. Okay? So, you need to see more of your screen. Always remember, go to this arrow. Move it up so that we can actually work in here. And look, I only use this many. Why do I need this to be so small? Remember, go to your magnifying glass. Click and look. Oh, there we go. This looks more manageable. Okay, now, if you want to make it perfect, as though you played it really perfectly, even though a lot of this looks like pretty close, you know? You know it's not perfect because if you zoom in, you could see, oh, right here, I meant to play it right on that line, but I was a little off. Now, sometimes you want that humanity. It sounds good. You want that kind of not perfect thing, but if you want it to be perfect, all you got to do in here, guys, is click anywhere in the grid, and you're going to press Command U. And what that just did is it made everything perfect. I'm going to undo so you could really see that. And I'm going to go, look at that. You see what it's doing? When I press Command U, it's making everything perfect. I'm going to turn the metronome off. And look, everything is right. Oh, yeah. Okay? And yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think right now. I think that's like kind of the whole idea. Oh, last thing is just, let's say I did this instrument and I want to make a new instrument. I want to put something over top of this. Well, all I have right now is just this one instrument. To create a new MIDI track, so you could do this process all over again, but with a new instrument, you're going to press Command Shift T. And now we've got a new MIDI track, and I could do this dance all over again. Okay, maybe I'll search for a pad, and I'll find a little, right? Remember, you can go like this to demo them out. And I can go drag that onto my new MIDI track. And now, how do I create new MIDI region? Just how I showed you before. You're going to select the amount of space you want, and you're going to press Command Shift M, at which point you can create your chords or whatever it is you want to play. And one more little bonus. If I go back to the MIDI from my first track here, oftentimes, guys, whatever the lowest note you played, you can make chords off of that note. I want to show you what I mean. I've got E, okay? E goes from bar 1 all the way to bar 3. You see how that's the lowest note from bar 1 to bar 3? The whole time it's E. Then from bar 3 to bar 4, that lowest note turns into C. I know it's broken up, but it's still the lowest note, and it hangs the whole time. That's sort of our bass note, usually. So I've got bar 1 to 3, I've got E. Then bar 3 to 4 is C. And bar 4 to 5 is D. Okay? So if I go into my new one, my new pad, and I go like this, I remember it was E. It was E, so I'm going to scroll up here, and look, you see the notes. You see the notes, even without needing to play them, they pop up on the left. So I'm going to go to E, which I played from bar 1 to 3, or what was it? Bar 1 to 3. So look at that, bar 1 to bar 3. And then it was C from bar 3 to 4, and then it was D from bar 4 to 5. Now this is already going to work together. Listen. That's already a cheat code. I mean, for people who don't make music yet, you're just starting. My God, you get how like simple this shit could be. It's like actually not that hard to get started. You know, before stuff starts getting complex, you start making crazy, like, it's not that hard to actually just get started. And from before, remember, I can go up either 3 then 4 or 4 then 3, and I'll create a basic chord. Now, you're not going to know which one. You're going to have to use your ear. So I'm going to try 3 then 4 for this first shit. 1, 2, and again, how am I doing this? By holding Option. That's how I move the note, right? Because if I don't hold Option, look what happens when I try to move this. It's just moving it, and it's not keeping any of my other of the note that I want to keep that note, because I'm trying to build a chord. So remember, hold Option. Then I'm going to go up by 1, 2, 3, and then up by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If it sounds good, we're good. If it doesn't, then I must be wrong about 3, 4, and it must be 4, 3. So let's listen. This is way too loud, so I'm just going to turn the volume of it down. Right here, turn the volume of the track down. Sounds good to me. So let's try another 3, 4 on this chord. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you guys can even see that anymore, so I'm just gonna move myself. Oh God, I'm still learning, guys. I'm still learning this whole screen record situation. Check this out, guys. I'm gonna try 3, 4. So I went 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if it still sounds good. Can you feel it? That was bad. Can you feel it? If you can't feel it, you're not just like fucked forever. Learn how to feel it. Learn how to feel that that was bad. Feel it in your heart, right? Seems like now I'm making more a video about just music in general versus like just Ableton. But feel it. Feel how the first one feels good, and the second chord doesn't feel good. Something feels off to you. Trust that instinct. When something feels off, it's because it is. Okay? Trust that instinct. Listen, this one sounds good. Great. Now listen to the next one. That didn't sound great. That must mean I was wrong about 3/4. So let's try 4/3 instead. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now let's listen. That sounded a little bit better. Done a little bit better. Doesn't sound great still. Might just be because this note is too low. You can change the octave of the note again by grabbing it and doing shift up. So I'm going to try that. Now, a big reason for why this might not be sounding good is because, listen, when I solo this track, and I don't play the other one, I just solo this one by pressing the S, I think it's because the reverb, the sound, the tail of the notes are hanging into the next one. So we're hearing all of these notes while this one starts playing, and it doesn't sound good. Sometimes that happens. Let's see if that's the reason. It's not helping. So I'm going to go down here to go to my instrument, because right now we're in the piano roll. I'm going to go to my instrument down here and press that. Oh, we're dealing with an instrument that was made in Operator. So that's a longer story. I'm going to need to change the release of this note. Let's not worry about that for now, okay? Let's imagine, that's for another day. Let's imagine that it sounds good. And then we're going to do the same thing for this last chord. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if it sounds right. Sounds a little weird. So instead of 3, 4, I'm going to go 4, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to shorten these so that they don't hang quite as long. Very, very basic chords, and honestly doesn't even really sound great, but you get the idea that you can kind of use this 3/4, 4/3 method to make minor or major triads. Okay, guys, I think that's it for today. So hope that helped, and you know, let me know what next video you want to see. All right, peace.